Good morning, everyone. Got my coffee here this morning and I am ready to go. It has been too long since I've been on here. It's been busy and just a lot of things I'm doing. I'm getting ready. My little girl is starting kindergarten next week and I'm planning to homeschool, so I've been getting ready for that. And I've just been busy with other things, church things, work-related stuff. So it's been busy, and honestly, I haven't really felt like filming. And I don't want to make this something that I have to make myself do, like a chore. I want it to be for fun, so that's why I have not, haven't been on here in a while, just been busy. But anyway, here I am today. I'm home by myself. My kids stayed with my in-laws last night, so it's quiet this morning and it's the perfect time to get some filming done. So we're going to try to go ahead and get several videos that I've been meaning to do finished today. So this is my little coffee cup. Look at this, y'all. Isn't it so cute? It's the Starbucks. It's like places you've traveled or something, but this is my state. So anyway, let's get started. So I want to do, first thing I'm going to do is to talk about what I read in the month of August. So if y'all remember from my May reading wrap up, no, my July reading wrap up, I read a lot of awesome books in July. I had like a fabulous reading month, probably the best of the year. Well, August did not go so hot. So I don't know why, I was like super scattered this month. I felt like, I don't know, I would pick up a book and start it and then lay it down. And that's something, if y'all watch, you're probably going to pick up on, is that I'm really bad for picking up a book, reading a few chapters, and then putting it down until later. And it's not necessarily anything wrong with the books. There's a lot of great books that I've picked up this month and just didn't keep going just because of my mood. So if y'all hear me talk about books and then you wonder, wait, did she finish that book? Like, why isn't she talking about that book anymore? That's probably what happened. So I did that with a lot of books this month. Just picked up some books that I started on and I just didn't keep going. So I'm sorry about that, guys. But two books that I did complete, these are the only two that I completely finished, are Walking in Tall Weeds by Robin Pearson and Just Look Up by Courtney Walsh. Also, I will say I did finish reading a couple books like in the first few days of the month, and I reviewed them on my wrap up for July, just because it was like within the first couple days. So anyway, the first book that I did completely read this month was Walking in Tall Weeds. This is by Robin Pearson, and it's a new to me author. I love this cover so much. And so this book, I had pre-ordered it earlier this year, I think. It was a slow read for me. This follows, I thought it was set in the 50s or 40s, but it's not. I don't know why. I guess looking at the cover it looked like it, but no, it's set in modern day, and it's set in North Carolina in the town of Hickory Grove. That was one of the aspects about this that I enjoyed, was there are a lot of cultural and regional references that I knew what they were talking about. I believe Hickory Grove, I don't know if it's based on the town of Hickory in North Carolina, but I know it's set near like High Point, Thomasville, that area. which if you're from North Carolina, you grow up knowing that, like, being taught in school that High Point was the, like, furniture capital of the world for a long time. I don't know if it is anymore, but for a long time before, like, the 80s and 90s, when like there was a big recession, I don't know, when a lot of the factories and stuff went overseas, High Point was a big furniture area, and I think it still has that, but not as big as it used to be. But anyway, a rabbit trail. So we see that featured in this book. This follows a biracial couple. We have Fred Baldwin and his wife. Fred is a black man, and his wife Paulette, who is biracial. Her father was black and her mother was white, I think. Yeah. So they are now, like, in their middle age, like getting close to 60, and they are dealing with just the things that come from, you know, when you get to that, like, stage in life, and you've drifted apart, and their son has gone off to college, and he's coming back home like for a few days, and this is just the story during all of that, as they kind of, like, work through just issues. I think over the years they had drifted apart, and there were a lot of things that they kind of didn't talk about and were closed off to each other, and we see them processing that, like, trying to figure out where their marriage is going, and figuring out their relationship with their son, and, like, the generational gap that's there. And he has problems talking with his parents because just their nature has always been kind of closed, and we just see, like, so many family dynamics, and we see racial issues just with some of Fred's family having issue with his marriage to Paulette, and then we see just some of the racial issues that they still have to deal with their in their community sometimes. So anyway, it was Southern, like so many Southern references, family, I don't want to say family drama, but just family tensions and issues, dynamic. Fred actually works, that was where the whole furniture thing comes in. Fred works in a furniture business where they design and make furniture, and so because of issues that the company had in his family, there were issues with the company and his grandfather, I think, in, like, the past, and so he kind of uses that in some ways as leverage to do some things in the company. And so there's, like, the tension there with that, and we see him just having to deal with his Fred having to deal with his anger and issues that he has, like, for the things that were done wrongfully to his family in the past. And then we see their son McKinley, who is dealing with his parents and the generational gap that's there, and just feeling like they don't understand him. And then at the same time, he's in a relationship and he doesn't really want to talk to his family about it because he's afraid of their reaction, and it's all of that. I know that sounds convoluted and at the same time just crazy and probably don't even make sense, but it was good. It was a slow read for me because it was something that I had to, like, just let simmer. And then at the same time, her writing style is a little bit of in this book, I felt like there was, like, a mild stream of consciousness style. Like, we kind of got the whoever's head we were in, we kind of got little random snippets of their thought flow, I guess, at times. It wasn't anything major, but it was just, it took me a little bit to get used to. So it was a slower read. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, though. The story was just, it was a beautiful story, and it was one that I'm still thinking about, and I just like letting it soak in and digest. And I love books that take me into other cultures and other, even like even just regional cultures and things like that are different than my own, and help me to see things from a different perspective, and from the perspective of the characters that are living through their experiences. So I hope all that makes sense. Anyway, it was a good book, and I would definitely recommend it. And this is, I believe, her 3rd book, I think. And I definitely would like to read her prior 2 books. And then the second book that I finished was Just Look Up by Courtney Walsh. This book was gifted to me by Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda, over at Book Lover Amanda. This was on my list, and I couldn't remember. I knew I had put it on there because there was some concept it was dealing with that I was interested in, and I had posted, I believe, on a Facebook group that I'm a part of. I had posted asking for suggestions for books that deal with characters who deal with like body image and weight issues and things like that. And so this was one of the books that was suggested. I could not remember. I knew there was something in it. I was thinking maybe one of the characters dealt with OCD or mental illness or something, because I know there are some other books that are on my list that have that element, I believe. But this one was, the main character deals with like body image and in the past with weight issues. So clarify all that. I talk about it in my other video because I couldn't remember what it was. But anyway, I've never read anything by Courtney Walsh, and this was my first book. And so we follow Elaine Kelly, who has moved away from her hometown of Harbor Point, Michigan. She has moved to Chicago to work as an interior designer, and she has a large family. She has like 3 or 4 brothers and sisters, and she's pretty much just distanced herself from them and moved to this firm to kind of get away from her family because of some things that happened in her past that really hurt her, and she felt very betrayed by her family because of these things. So her brother is involved in a motorcycle accident, and she comes home to be with him while he's in the hospital in a coma. And so she comes home to go to the hospital and, be there as they're figuring out what's going on with him. And his friend was also involved in the motorcycle accident. His friend's name is Ryan Brooks, and Ryan was actually kind of taken in by the Kelly family when they were younger. He didn't live with them, but came from a very bad childhood, like a bad background. His father was an alcoholic, and so a lot of times they would go over to Lane's family's house and eat and hang out with them, and just it was kind of like their place of refuge. And so Lane and Brooks, she calls him Brooks most of the time, became very close as like teenagers, but then they drifted apart, and she kind of basically like put her life in why can't I remember the name, Harbor Point, Michigan, to the side. And so anyway, when she comes back home, of course she sees he was also involved in the accident, although he was not as badly injured as her brother. And she sees him, and they like begin to talk and kind of strike their friendship back up. And so we follow that and her journey as she's continuing to struggle with anger towards her family, and because of just issues and things that happen. And then she still struggles with like her body image. She's no longer overweight, but it's something that still bothers her, the way she was treated in childhood. And then just different things, you know, her and Brooks, they kind of, there's like an attraction there, and anyway, various things happen. She has to, of course, go back to her job, and then something happens there. She's just so many issues that she's dealing with, and the stress gets to her, and just some things happen, and so it just follows that storyline. Her rekindling her relationship with Brooks eventually, and allowing him to show her what genuine love looks like. Brooks was a Army veteran who now has settled in Harbor Point and is like doing construction work, remodeling a little village, like not a village, but like a little cottage community, and he's working on doing that and getting that set up. So yeah, that's the story. I gave this 3 stars on Goodreads. It was a lot book to read, as far as so it did deal with some deeper themes like stress and body image and alcoholism and things like abuse and things like that, but it was also written in a way that it wasn't super detailed, and it was still really light. So it was a little bit, I felt like the writing style was a little bit simple for me. It was pretty predictable. It was a Hallmark movie book, which I like Hallmark movies, and I like Hallmark movie books if it's something like a cozy mystery or a Christmas book, but then at the same time, you know, sometimes there's like a generic-y Hallmark feel to certain books, and that's what I got from this one. And I don't mean that to be rude or mean, but it was not the thing that I enjoy reading. I know like a lot of people enjoy like light books like that, beach reads and things, and if that's something you enjoy, then you would definitely like this. But for me, it was really predictable. I saw everything that was coming pretty much, and there was not a lot of depth in the writing. It was kind of like your average recycled dialogue and stuff, like just the kind of the things that you are used to seeing in this type of book. So that was the issues that I just had. It was a little bit, it was simple and not exactly my cup of tea. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't read anything else by Courtney Walsh, because she has like some Christmas books that I would like to read, and I would even continue this series. It's just not like super high on my TBR list. But yeah, I would definitely like to read more of her books and try more. This is like her 3rd or 4th book, I think. So she's written more since this one came out, and I would love to try more, but that was just the whole issue I had with this. Also, I don't know, some of the characters were just, I felt like when she comes home, everybody's talking about her weight and like, oh, you've lost weight and you look good. And I mean, maybe people are like this. I guess they are. I mean, I'm overweight, and I know people say things like, oh, you've gained a lot of weight. And for me personally, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know I've gained weight. And it is something that like, it does bother me as far as my weight, and that I do want to lose weight. But I guess the people who say it to me, I kind of brush it off, because a lot of the people that say it are people that I don't really care what their opinion is anyway. But anyway, in here, it was like so many people said stuff like at her church, and I was like, man, if I live somewhere where that many people were that rude all the time, I would want to leave too. But I don't know, I just felt like it was a little bit overkill. Like, there were so many people, her mom's friends and at church and stuff, that all said stuff to her that was rude about her losing weight. So I don't know, I just thought that, I was like, man, that was just rude. Like, there were so many rude people in her life. Like, is that realistic? I don't know. But anyway, it did deal with that, and it also dealt with that. One thing I did enjoy was it did deal with like stress and panic attacks and to some degree, and a little bit of like mental health stuff like that, which I did enjoy, because we don't see that a lot in at least I haven't seen it a lot in Christian fiction, and so I'm glad to see issues like that being addressed in Christian fiction. Things like mental health and stress and those type of issues. But anyway, there's my review for that, and I do appreciate Amanda sending me this book. I was glad to get to read it. Thank you, Amanda. So those are the books that I read, and I don't know why this is so long for me to have only read 2 books, y'all. I'm just chattering away. I also read, I did the Galatians Study, the book club on Booktube, this Booktube community. Did Galatians for the book that they read in August. And interestingly enough, I had actually just started doing this right when they announced that that's what they were doing. So I continued this study. I'm actually still doing this study, so I did not finish the Galatians study yet. This is a 6-week study, and I'm still working on it. Really enjoying it, like, so much. This is probably going to be one of my favorite studies I've done by the Daily Grace Company so far. This one and the Sermon on the Mount. But this one is so much depth, so much insight as I've studied the book of Galatians, and oh man, it's just so many things are being opened up to me, and like just the richness that I have in Jesus and the grace that I've been given, and that it is genuinely by faith. It's by faith. I can't do anything to help me gain salvation. I can't, not do certain things or do certain things to help me gain salvation. It's by faith alone. And I don't know, it's been good. I am on, let's see, I'm on page 111 is what I'm getting ready to start doing. 111. And so I'm almost finished with it. But it's gorgeous, y'all. If y'all haven't done any of the Daily Grace Company books, y'all need to pick them up. They are so gorgeous. And this one I just really enjoy. It has so you have like the lesson that you read your scripture, you read the lesson, and then you have questions that you answer, and usually the questions will like reference you to other scriptures to read, so you are reading more than just like this day you read Galatians 2:15 through 21, but in the questions they usually reference you to other scriptures to also read, so you're reading more than just those scriptures, and you're connecting different passages of scripture and getting just a blended idea of what the Bible speaks to us. And so it's really good. I love this. Could not recommend it enough. Definitely gonna be a 5-star reading experience. Love it. Love studying the book of Galatians, and it's just so much depth, as I realized as I was growing up, and even until the past few years and the past few months, it's becoming clear that I really sometimes unconsciously felt like I had to do certain things to make God love me more, or make myself a better Christian. Just little things that you realize that's not why God loves you. My desire, just for example, Bible study and prayer. It's something that I want to be part of my daily routine, but it's something I have struggled with doing every single day, doing both every single day for years. I might go through periods where I do one really well every day, and then slack up a little bit and do a different one well for a while, and then slack up a little bit and slack up, and then start doing Bible study again well. And it's just, I'm sure some of y'all understand the struggle. And for me, it's always been mentally, I've really put myself down over it and felt like I wasn't as good a Christian as others because of that, and struggled with, like, God is just unhappy with me, and like he would love me more if I did more, and so, like, the subconscious idea. And I realized lately, that's not the truth. And for me, yes, I'm not making excuses, because I definitely want Bible study and prayer to be part of my daily. I want it to be like the most important thing of my day. I want to love spending time with God in prayer and Bible study. And that's, I guess, the point. I want to love it and it to come freely from my heart, and not to feel like I have to do these things for God to allow me into heaven, or for God to love me more. I want it to flow from my heart. And I think all of that is just something that I've learned too in Galatians, is that the whole perspective and mindset, it needs to change. My whole perspective and mindset needs to be about me digging into the word and prayer out of a heart of love and a hunger for God, and not as something that I think is going to help me win salvation or help God not be angry with me. If all of that makes sense. Not at all. I don't want to at all sound like I am diminishing prayer and Bible study, because I'm not. It is very important to us as Christians. But I guess the point that I want to make is, what angle are we coming at it from, and how are we approaching prayer and Bible study, and our attitude toward it. So yeah, that was just one of the things that I have taken from this whole study, and there's so much more. It's just been so good. I'm so glad that I was able to participate in this, and I am continuing to enjoy this study. So that leaves the book that I DNF'd. And y'all, I'm sorry, this might offend some of y'all, and I hope it doesn't. So the book that I DNF'd was Deadly Devotion by Sandra Orchard. Now, I know a lot of my Booktube friends love this book. Like, several of my Booktube friends recently read it, recently reread it. I was seeing it all over Instagram and Booktube. So when I saw it at my library, I was like, I'm going to pick this up and read it and see what I think about it. Because everybody else, like, I saw so many people that liked it. I thought, well, I thought I would probably enjoy it because so many others were enjoying it. So I picked it up, and I had also picked up a few other books that I'd seen on Booktube, and I posted it on my Instagram in a poll, and this was the one that everyone voted, like, it got the most votes for me to read. So I picked it up, and I got, like, I don't even remember how far into it I got. But I couldn't keep going. I did, like, I wanted to see kind of what was going to happen, so I did, like, skim through it to the end to see what happened. But this type of suspense is not my cup of tea. I'm so really critical of suspense. Terry Blackstock has been my favorite suspense author since I was a young teenager, young Terry Blackstock, and I enjoyed D. Henderson when I was young too. And so, I don't know, there's just a lot of suspense authors that I really struggle with, and this one was one of them. I don't know, I don't like a suspense book where there's constantly something happening to it. It doesn't seem like it's written to propel the story. It doesn't seem like it's written like just as a way that to help the story flow smoothly. It feels like it was just like inserted for the effect of having extra suspense in the story, and like the characters make dumb decisions, like go do something when they know one is possibly dangerous, or they know like, oh, this is a dangerous situation, but they still go do it anyway. And it's really for the sake of the author being able to put them in a dangerous situation type of thing. Anyway, I felt like that was a big part of this story. She kept like getting herself into these situations, and every time then she would like freak out and think that, oh no, they're gonna kill me, they're gonna do this, and then the hero would come and rescue her, and it was predictable and unrealistic. I guess that's my big thing with suspense. I do not like unrealistic suspense. And so here's the thing, guys, I'm okay with cozy mysteries that are unrealistic, because for me a cozy mystery is kind of unrealistic to start with, like the lady who works in the bookshop who solves mysteries, or the librarian who investigates crimes. You know what, that doesn't happen in everyday life. So it's just a fun cozy mystery, and kind of like the world of Nancy Drew that we grew up on, where someone is solving all these mysteries and it's fun and cozy and a good adventure, but it doesn't really happen. However, with my suspense, I feel like suspense for me, and this is my thought process about it, that it's supposed to be realistic and based in reality. And for me, I want it to be plausible for the most part, plausible and true to what I feel like would happen. And another thing issue I have with it is being married to a law enforcement officer for 4 years. My husband has passed away, but he was in law enforcement for the entire time of our marriage, and you see the ins and outs of law enforcement and procedures and things, and you kind of get an idea. And so when you're reading a book like this, it's like, this would not happen in reality. And I think that comes a little bit with just, even as a nurse, seeing things that wouldn't happen in a medical book, like a medical themed book. I think that just comes with having that position and role. But yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Those of you that love this book, I'm sorry. I just found it cheesy, and please don't hate me for saying that. I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't read it. I cannot stand when characters intentionally like go into situations knowing that it's a stupid decision and then the hero comes and rescues them, and yeah. Unrealistic, predictable, not my cup of tea, and please forgive me. I'm not trying to offend anyone with this review, because I read things myself that other people don't like and they would consider fluffy and predictable, and I enjoy, but this one is just not my thing, y'all. But thank y'all for voting in my Instagram poll, and I'm glad I did at least try it. So now I know that this author's probably not for me, and you know, I learned something. Alright, y'all, so this was a long wrap up for me to have only read 2 books. So I'm gonna try to condense it some. But anyway, I gotta hurry up and get this finished. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.